Thanks for that. I'm Luke Tupper. I've been a mobile software engineer for way too long. And if you do want to contact me, you find that typically Tups, which is my nickname, it's on, or if I didn't actually put the CocoaHeads Slack, hit me up on Tups. Talking about perfecting your PRs tonight, just a little bit about myself. Like I said, mobile software development. I was actually doing mobile software development as the iPhone first got announced, building apps in the transport industry. So, like I said, I'm nearly running out of toes to count how many years I've been doing mobile software development now. Bit about myself, as well as being a mobile software engineer, I'm a judge and an umpire for sailing events. My specialty is upsetting youth competitors. So, day job, upsetting developers with PRs. Weekends, upsetting youth sailing. But just so you know that I'm not all bad, here's my dog Beans. So on to PRs. This talk is about getting through or getting involved, getting past submitting PRs and doing it with the minimum of hassle and being at the top of the game when people are reviewing them. For some people, this is going to be one of your interactions with other developers that you might not necessarily speak to the developer on a regular basis, but they will be looking at your PRs. So this is what people sort of think about you. What this talk isn't about is the rights and wrongs about whether you should do PRs or that sort of thing. And just by the way, I'm using the term PR quite a bit. The proper name is, of course, pull requests. If you use GitLab, they're often known as merge requests. So a variety of systems, but especially for those of you working in large organizations, or those who aspire to work in the biggest of enterprises, the pinnacle of IT excellence, you are more than likely to come across pull requests. So, what are PRs? So, for those who haven't come across a PR before, like I said, GitLab calls them merge requests, but basically, you do a body of work. You typically in Git, other source control systems have a similar concept, and you basically package up your bundle of work and ask other people to accept it into the main code repository. And this is typically what they look like. So a bit of a description, people will make a comment, and hopefully if everything's going well, it'll get committed to a code base. Often this is done at the same time as your CI or continuous integration checks and other tools that might be used. Now, every project is different, and the project and tools are just a reflection of the people that work on it. And we're all special little snowflakes. The rules for PRs, some companies might be, if the code compiles and the unit test pass, we're happy, and it'll get accepted. Others will go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and every detail will be checked. Are your imports sorted in alphabetical order? But the company ones have to be at the top. So some will go through to the nth degree. So every project's a little bit different. So before you submit your first PR on a new project, so I know some of the people here work in the contracting space, so you're often changing jobs. Some of the things to look at, do they put the ticketing system as the first tag in your PR? Do they care about spacing? All of those things. And the easy way to do this is to have a look at the PRs that have come before you. So go and have a look at the PRs in GitHub. There's a section that'll show you the closed PRs, and you can go through and have a look at them. And the especially useful ones are some of those ones that have got the higher counts where people have made comments about PRs. So we've got one there that's got 11 comments and a bit more in this project. So have a look, see what people are complaining about. And one thing that it made me realise that during this presentation is when I was setting up this presentation, that be actually a good thing to ask in an interview. Can I actually have a look at some of your closed PRs? It'd be a really good way of actually seeing what day-to-day developers are actually doing at a business, how things are actually rolling. I might use that one in future gigs just to get an idea of what they're doing. But like I said, some of the things that I'd look at my first PR, new on the project. I don't want to stuff up, first day to have them tell me you've left off the Jira ticket, you haven't, the spacing's all wrong, you haven't left a single line feed at the bottom of the file, all those sort of things. So, do they care about the spacing? One class per file. Do they have comments? Lots? None? And I found this one just recently. But I've worked on projects where everything's got to be commented. Do you need to add a screenshot or a video? And how much of a description is needed in the PR? So again, some projects you work on, they have it's actually the description that they pass on to the QEs to do the testing is actually contained within the PR. So some do, some don't. So you've gone through, you've got a good idea about what they want to do for your PR. So the next thing is you need to think about your code and what you're doing with the PR. So my first tip is use every tool available to you. Use your compiler. It tells you all, if really easy one, if the project has lots of warnings, and it shouldn't, but some projects do. But just make sure that you're not adding any warnings to it. Use a linter, use static analysis, whatever tools. The project itself might not use a linter, but you can, if you work out how the linters work, you can create a baseline from the code you started with, and make sure you're not adding anything. You're not making the project worse. You're making it better. Another one that I had was I had a PR checklist, and this is from a couple of years ago, but this was my PR checklist. So the things I looked for, and this was just to remind myself, check the comments. Have I added comments that make sense? One of my pet hates is a comment where the code does exactly the opposite. Do my variable names make sense? Do my functions make sense? Have I run the tests? Have I done a coverage check? So I used a tool like SonarQube to see if the coverage is going up, and is all my code covered? Have I run the Clang analysis across it? Have I run shell check? So if I'm adding any bash files, run shell check. It's the equivalent of a compiler for bash files, and check any strings in my code, or make sure there are no strings in my code. So again, checklist, that's an easy one. But come up with your own thing, what you need to pass the checklist, or to pass your PR, or get your PR through smoothly, because inevitably I'd rush things and I'd go, didn't run my tests, and then you've asked people to approve your PR, and then you realise that one of your unit tests have failed, and you've got to ask them to approve it again. That doesn't look very good. Another tip to making your PRs go a bit smoother, if you know that we've probably all been in the situation, you've come into a project and the code formatting is all over the place, and you're working on a file and you really just want to reformat it so it's all the same, or move things around. So one of my tips is, do all that reformatting first, submit it as a PR without any code changes. That way the developers can look at it and go, oh yeah, all Luke's doing is buggering around with the files again. Have that as PR, and then create your PR with just your changes that are actually making some impact on the code base. Next up, I always think, and I try to tell developers on my teams, what we're doing is we're trying to tell a story. We're telling a story about how this app's changing, And the main thing that we're doing is that we're telling a story through our commits. And this is the history that's going to be visible for a long time. I'm working on a project at the moment I've come back to, and I originally worked on the project 5 or 6 years ago. My commits are still in the project, and people have looked them up and gone, oh, we see you did this code here and with this code here. And I'm like, that was 5, 6 years ago. And of course, I'm usually embarrassed about my code from 3 weeks ago, let alone 5 years ago. So, but one of the important things is the commits are your history. And do you want to be the guy on the left who added some tests, updated the models, updated the documentation, there we go, pushed it in, or the guy on the right, wrote code, fixed stuff, did this, fixed stuff for the QEs? So these two sets of commits could very well be the same ultimate code changes, but just think about what your commits say about the work that you've done. It's surprising the number of times I've gone into projects and I've scratched my head and gone, I don't think these guys knew what they were doing, when I see, a small code change and there's 8 commits involved to try to get them done. So have a good think about your commits, spend a bit of time, Git rebase. It's a pretty funky tool, but it basically, you can rewrite this history into a nice, tight history for yourself. The next thing you're going to do is the PR description. This is the first thing that people are going to see when they're reviewing your pull request. Again, this comes back to what you had that look at the closed PRs. Have a look at what they do. Do they add notes, screenshots, videos? My current client, more often than not, a video of what you're fixing, if it's a bug fix, is usually done as a video in the PR. And again, it comes back to the idea that you're telling a story about how this work's being done, and this is just adding to the story. So we're nearly getting there, good to go. But before you press that create PR button and tell the whole world that your code's good to go, the last thing I do, create the PR, it's sitting there, it's in, I know this works in both GitHub and GitLab. Before you press the create button, you can actually go and see what the PR is going to look like. Reread your description, make sure that you've written something that resembles English-ish. People aren't usually going to comment on your description. But the main thing, go and actually read the code and check all the changes. The number of times where I've gone in and looked at the files change and gone, why is that file there? Oh, it's, I'm doing an experiment on some other file or helping someone with someone, I've accidentally committed some code. So go through, just before you create that PR, go through, check the files that have been created, the comments that are, or the code that's changed. Make sure it's actually what you're thinking about. Then you can hit that create button. The next thing is the big part of a pull request is that people are going to comment on your code. And this is always daunting because typically if I'm making comments about your code, it's usually something that's wrong or needs to be changed. This is a really hard one, but assume that the people who've made those comments about your code are doing it with the best intentions to help you. They might not be. They might be trying to torture you. It's a favourite pastime of mine, as you can tell. But assume they're trying to help and respond to the comments in that attitude. It'll really help you get along with comments. The other bit of advice I heard was take nitpicking comments about style and things like that as a compliment. If people are picking up on your style, or it might be better if you switch these if statements back to front or something, and it's a styling issue. The good news for you is while people are picking up on your style, it's a hint that you've got the rest of your code is right. All they're doing is picking up styling issues. But try to keep positive about it. I know it can be hard. So this is my first PR checklist. conform to the team practice, use all the tools, create your PR as though you're reviewing it, refactor in a separate PR, tell your story, respond to comments. Now, I'd be remiss talking about pull requests if I didn't talk about reviewing PRs. And again, some people don't like criticizing other developers in their team, but first up, review PRs. It's the best thing you can do to help the team. It'll make you a better developer. It'll introduce you to new ideas and different other people's ways of working, and it makes you part of the team. When reviewing PRs, I've got a sort of routine that I go through. First up, I check out the code for the PR. I know some people check it out into, they have they have the repository checked out twice, once for doing reviews, once for actually doing their work. Either can work. I don't particularly like having two repositories because I end up forgetting which one I'm looking at and making all my code changes in the one that I usually do reviewing in. So I just have one. Git stash is your friend. Check it out open it up in the IDE, have a look at the code changes, get the change list on one screen and your IDE on the other. Next thing to do is go through your PR checklist. This might look a bit familiar to you. When I'm doing a review, it's exactly the same thing that I do when I'm creating a PR. I check through things, and I found this to be really valuable to actually go through these things individually. Have a look at the comments, go through the PR, and just look at the comments that people have added. Don't try to read the whole thing at once. Just go, do the comments that people have added make sense? Do the variable names make sense? Do the function names make sense? If you do them iteratively, you can break it down into small tasks. It can make the 45 file PR that someone's dumped on you to be done in the next half hour. You might be able to get through it. Again, run the test on your local machine, run the coverage. See, go, wait a minute, I don't know if the test, then you realize, nothing's tested. They might not have run shell check. You run shell check and go, oh, look, I think, and shell check's great. It gives you really good advice about how to rewrite things. You go, I think you could rewrite it like this. It makes you look like a bash expert, but you've got no idea. And one other thing, and I've only done this once or twice, but if you're looking at a PR and someone's really made a dog's breakfast of it, a good thing to do is to play the PR Uno reverse card, which is someone's got a PR, you're like, nah, there's a whole lot of changes that are needed. Rather than you just writing comments and going, look, you've got this wrong, this needs changes, everything else. Check the code out, make your changes, create a PR, push a PR up against their branch. They can then review your code, merge it into their branch, and then you're all happy. It seems complicated, but it's one of the ways to sort of break these things down. One of my other things is, again, checking out the code. If you're making comments about people's code, check it out. Make sure your comments make sense. Does it compile? Write it out. Does it look right? Don't make a comment and then send someone down a rabbit hole and for them to come back 2 days later and go, oh, by the way, I tried to do this, but it doesn't work. So again, when reviewing PRs, my tips, first up, do it. Don't feel I'm the junior developer, I shouldn't be reviewing PRs. Get in there, start reviewing PRs. I'm guessing that anyone that leads a team of people, it's probably their biggest thing that they hassle people about is, I need some people to review PRs, especially if you require 2 developers to review a PR. It ends up being, you've got to be doing twice as many reviews as you are doing PRs yourself. Check out the code, open it up in the IDE, have a checklist, use all of those tools to your advantage. Again, the tools make you look a lot smarter, or they at least make me look a lot smarter than I actually am. If you have suggestions, make sure they compile and work correctly. And play that PR reverse card, see if you can get it in there one day. People will go, oh my gosh, this guy's really onto it. Or girl. Definitely. And finally, when things go wrong, and in the PR world, what usually happens is it ends up being a comment argument about the all the PRs. The typical thing, I was looking at a PR just the other day, 170 comments, and there's, once you're starting to add lots of comments, like I said, there's that PR reverse card, but there's a couple of other things. Have a conversation with the developer, have a chat about what you're trying to achieve. It might be that it ends up being easier for everyone involved if you just pair on the PR, or pair on making the pull request better. Have a meeting about, you might bring in the 3 senior people in the team and go, look, we need to work on this, this, and this, and actually do it as a live session. This is something that everyone says in an interview, especially at a senior level. They're like, so what happens when 2 developers are having an argument about something on a PR? And the correct answer is, we bring them in for a meeting and we sort things out. My experience is that never really happens. It's just left to go and away we go. If you're a senior person, you see that people are going down that rabbit hole, try to stop them ending up in World War III PR style arguing about it. So thank you very much. Again, if you want to contact me, various details, I ranked in about the order that I'll possibly comment on them, respond to you, and I'm pretty bad at doing email. And you can also hit me up at Tups on Slack. So thank you.
So we had 2 questions come through. Yeah, I'll do these ones first, and then you can ask your question. Question the first. Where is it? Have you found benefit in a team using a PR template?
At times, especially if you're trying to get conformance to tracking tools or accountability tools where you want the ticket to link back to the PR and things like that. That can be really useful. It just helps with, the same as enforcing a style on coding. It can be useful that everyone's doing the same things. So.
Cool, thank you. Second question, how important is empathy when reviewing and writing PRs?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. The classic one is you've sat and argued over a PR and you've spent so much time getting it to the very end, and then you're going, well, if this was a regular PR, I'd be picking you up on a few little things. There might be an extra space needed in an if statement, but we've also spent 3 days getting to this point. And there's a temptation to let those things through, and you very well might let those things through. But at the same time, this is also code that you're going to live with potentially for a long time. Like I said, I've come back to a code base that's 5-year-old code base, and so the mistakes you let through are going to live for 5 years. So, it. On the flip side, if you're building a throwaway app that you know that you're going to write, you're building version 2 and you know that version 3 has already been slated for, to start in July, let it go and move on with life.
Cool. This question is the last one.
So at the start of the talk, you had an early slide that mentioned like titles with the ticket number, and going to the commit history. I was just wondering, what's your thoughts on adding the ticket number to the commits?
If you'd asked me this question 2-3 years ago, we worked on projects where we did enforce that, and I was like, it is useful. So that particular company was big into traceability, so every commit had a Jira ticket. Every Jira ticket it had a tool that would pick up all the Jira tickets and allow you to find the original Jira ticket and then see all of the code that was responsible for that. And in the last 18 months, I've been working for a client where before COVID, they had about 20 mobile developers, and during COVID, they had 2. And then they've started rebuilding their team, and we've now got 1 of those original developers in the team. Being able to go back and trace through the history and find out what the original reasons for making changes were has been essential, and missing that piece of history has been a real thorn in our side. So if your code's going to be around for 2-3 years time, I think it's really, really important. And again, that the bigger the enterprise, the more likely it is to be a problem. But yeah, I've like I said, my experience in the last 18 months, the fact that 75% of the time it had a Jira ticket has been really, really valuable. The times it's been missing has been it's like, now I've got to try to find out why this was done. So
Thank you.
Thank you.